Welcome to the Sheff United Way. My name is Hal, and we are going to talk in this video and look at a player I believe would be a good addition to Sheffield United. His name is Karamoko Dembele, known as Caddy. Karamoko started his professional football journey at Celtic and was very highly rated in the Scottish football giants academy. He's been talked about roughly since 2016, certainly on a large international scale, and he was just 13, playing against boys, in some cases 7 years older than him, as he made an appearance for Celtic's under-20s. I know, at the age of just 13, which of course in itself is quite a story, and you often hear about these wonder kids, but then what happens to them later on? Well, we're going to look at that. He was actually born in Lambeth, London. Dembele has been called up to represent both Scotland and England at various youth levels. I mentioned he was born in London. This was to parents from the Ivory Coast, and his family moved north to Scotland, Govan, before his first birthday. So he grew up knowing Scotland, but at the moment seems to have pledged his allegiance to England. That, of course, could change, hasn't yet won a full cap. He joined Celtic when he was just 10 years old. Dembele made his senior debut on the 19th of May 2019. That was actually the last match of the season for Celtic. He came on wearing 77, and it was in a 2-1 victory against Hearts, coming on as a second-half substitute. But despite the early Celtic hype, he actually only managed 10 first-team appearances and 1 goal for the boys. An ankle injury, definitely a major factor. It had an impact. Also, I'd probably look at his slight stature, his lack of physicality being cited as issues. When you see the video of him being brought on against Hearts, they often use saying men against boys. He does look like, at that time, a boy playing the man's game. But that's because his game certainly isn't about physicality. And we'll get more to that and what his major attributes and traits are. It looks like, though, now, here we are, 2024, he might finally be living up to that early wonder kid billing after those, let's call them what they were, mixed fortunes at Celtic. Good early start and then didn't quite happen. He joined Ligue 1 side in France, Brest, on a free transfer and did very little. Again, I'm being honest, 18 appearances, no goals before being loaned to Blackpool, and that is really where the story starts, because he has lit up League One this season. His goals and assists have made him stand out. Indeed, his assists being the third most assists in the league. Was typically a right winger, but on loan in that 2023-24 season, he's played sometimes as a 10 in a 3-4-1-2 or on the right of a midfield 3. But I'd say any higher than League One, and he'd probably need to be a 10 or a right winger, purely again because of his height. And he really isn't the tallest. He creates a lot of chances, though, and that's what his game is all about. 2.63 chances a game he creates. Seems to be a fairly involved player with nearly 50 touches per game. And, sometimes wingers particularly won't see anywhere near that many touches in a game. Also, he's getting goal involvement, 21 in only 29 starts. Also seems to do the defensive work, which, again, might be surprising because of that slight stature. But he's working on that, and he is building up and putting on muscle and being able to compete far more than when he certainly first burst onto the scene, with 6.58 duels won per game and a high amount of possession won in the final third. Season 23-24, it's worth noting, probably his breakout season, probably the season worth looking at for stats, nothing else really. The question is, can he repeat the trick at a higher level, or was that season just a one-off? He's also 5th for chances created, 77, and 4th for big chances created with 15. League One has seen the best of him. And here's a quote from Tanja_Dreaming, a Blackpool fan. "It has been a true pleasure to witness Karamoko Dembele. Would easily control games in the Championship. Will need more agility to play at the top level and better vision. But nonetheless, he could do it." Another Blackpool fan said if he stays in England, she could see him going to a team like Bristol City or Sunderland to develop and then be sold on for big money. Now, Dembele has 2 years left on his deal, so after a good season for the right price, Brest may cash in. Still only 21, so could be a very, very good signing, in my opinion, for Sheffield United. And we're going to get further into the reasons why and into the numbers of this flair player and compare him with a player we will say goodbye to unless another loan can be agreed in James Mcatee. Now, I'm not talking about the James Mcatee that we've seen in the current season. Mcatee was crucial for Sheffield United in the 2022-23 promotion season in the Championship. So I believe a replacement will be needed. Have we found one in Karamoko Dembele? Is he that replacement that Sheffield United should be looking at? Now, let's get into the details, the profile for 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏. So his height is 167 centimetres, or 5'6" in the way I like to talk about it. He's 21, as I've mentioned. Interestingly, I've spoken about him playing on the right wing. He's left-footed, although I have seen loads of clips of him using both. I've watched full games as well. He is a natural talent that can use both feet, but left is his preference. I've mentioned his current club is Brest on loan at Blackpool, previously played for Celtic and moved on a free transfer to Celtic from Celtic to Brest in 2022. Now, if you look on Transfermarkt, his market value is only £600,000, but he can play right central midfield, so the centre maybe of a 3 on that right-hand side. And Sheffield United have in the past played 3 across the middle. You know, we're talking like a John Lundstrom kind of position. Attacking midfield, maybe that number 10. Right midfield, right winger. Also worth noting, nice free kick on him too, and that's never a bad thing. Career appearances up to, what are we looking at, the 3rd of May 2024. I don't like to date videos, but, you know, obviously these things will change depending on when you're watching the video. 75 career appearances, capped 3 times at England under 18 level, 24 goal involvements, so 10 goals and 14 assists. Again, this is in his career. Now, we're going to compare him with James Mcatee. And remember, this is James Mcatee from the Championship 2022-23 season versus Karamoko Dembele from the League One 2023-24 season. Now, in terms of shooting, big chances missed, 0 for Dembele, 2 for Mcatee. Now, for both, 4 shots on target per game. Shots per game, 1.3 for Dembele, 1.2 for Mcatee. Goals per game, 0.2 for both when we look at these stats. Goals for Mcatee, 8 and 9 this season for Dembele. There are other areas with, I've looked at creativity, how often they're fouled, possession lost, duels, aerial duels won, ground duels won, and a whole host of others like scoring frequency, chances created, touches. Then we focused on defending, passing, conversion, and dribbling. Now, rather than go through all of these individually, I thought it'd be more helpful to just kind of do a general roundup, because I've assessed the stats, and just let's look at shooting, right? Both very similar in terms of their goal output and shots per game. So that's one thing there. If you're saying that Dembele is going to be the player that we would look to replace Mcatee with, he's going to be far cheaper, then that's okay, level par. Mcatee has a better goal conversion rate than Dembele. Overall, though, I would say not much separates the two on shooting. Creativity, Dembele appears to be the more creative. He wins 1 more foul per game and has 1.1 more key passes per game. Dembele also creates many more chances, with 1 coming every 34.2 minutes compared with Mcatee's 1 every 54.2. Dembele loses the ball more per game. However, this is expected due to him having more touches per game. In terms of passing, again, not much separates the two. Dembele has a higher success rate when it comes to crosses and long balls. However, Mcatee has a slightly better success rate when passing in the opposition half. Both players seem capable of playing in an attacking midfield role, as I've mentioned. You know, both have good passing stats. Defending and duels, defensively, again, not much separates the two. Dembele wins more tackles per game, while Mcatee makes slightly more interceptions. Dembele, however, is much better in duels, being successful in 52% of duels compared to Mcatee's 44%. Dembele also has more success in the ground and aerial duels department. Overall, in general, not much separates Dembele and Mcatee. Dembele is more creative as an option and slightly better defensively. In terms of passing and shooting, very little separates them. Dembele would be, in my opinion, a perfect replacement for Mcatee at Championship level. Either maybe Dembele on loan, or I'd rather a permanent deal. After having his breakout season at Blackpool, and only 21, this could be the perfect time to sign him. We're talking about a big rebuild. Only worry comes with his physical stature and whether he is physically capable of playing in the Championship and Premier League. However, he has thrived in League One. That's a physical league in midfield, which makes me think if we played him as a 10 or on the right, he would fit perfectly. He would be capable. So the question is, can we get him? Now, I presume Brest will be looking to sell him, and I can't see anyone paying a massive fee based on one good League One season. And of course, it's a risk as well. Was it just a one-off? Brest have had a great season in Ligue 1, and forgive me for these puns, but they've kind of fallen into my lap. Brest they show no sign of sagging, and they're already fairly strong up top. It's actually us who could do with a little more support. One of the many things I like about Dembele is he can play in 3 positions. So we can play with wide players, but we could not play with wide players. What it does is it gives Chris Wilder options which could impact the whole team, the whole setup, in-game and how we start. Chris might want to go to a back 4. He might want to, finally, employ wingers. I say finally, of course, when Chris Wilder first took over Sheffield United, I mean, for those of us that were there in his first away game, we weren't playing a 3-5-2 with overlapping centre-backs. And he's got that in his locker, Chris, to change things around. And Dembele, I think, would lend himself perfectly to giving him lots and lots of options. I guess he'd cost a lot more than we speculated before, probably around maybe £2 million, and would eventually be worth far more than that if his career continues to progress. And I believe it will, and I believe Sheffield United would be the perfect environment for that to happen. Thank you very much for watching this. Karamoko Dembele is the player we're talking about. I want to know, what do you think about this potential transfer target?